Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And guess who's back with me? Paul Deniston is back. And do you know why he's back? This book, Healing Through Yoga, Transform Loss into Empowerment, has been it came out yesterday, you guys. And it's already, talk to the folks, Paul. It's already out there. #1 on Amazon. Talk to them. Tell them what's going on.
Sure. Thank you, Nancy, for having me back. Good to be here. Yes, I gave birth yesterday. The book came out. It is out in the world. It is the number one book for love and loss, #1 book for grief and bereavement, #1 for yoga. Yeah, and it was one of the top selling books on Amazon. So I can see how this work is really resonating with people. I think so many people are struggling. And I'm a big believer that healing needs movement. And so I'm so grateful to be able to share this practice.
Yeah, so welcome back to High Road. Yeah, I'm
Thank
really
you.
glad you're here. Yeah, this is going to be real fun. You guys, because this is High Road to Humanity, I could not help it. I saw this morning. I sent it to both my daughters. I was just over the top. Are you ready for this? After school Satan Club in Illinois district elicits concern. Superintendent response. Elementary school children in Moline, Illinois, have been invited this week to an after-school Satan Club with 5 different meeting dates planned for early this year. This is hard for me to read. Starting Thursday, January 13, 2022, according to flyers placed in the school's lobby and shared on social media, some parents are angry about their children's exposure to information about the club, apparently prompting the superintendent of schools to weigh in. Now, the Satanic Temple says on its website that it operates the clubs at select public schools where Good News clubs also operate, giving the mounting concerns and questions about the Satan Club flyer that was made available to students. It goes on. I don't know what to say.
I'm speechless about it.
And Tucker Carlson had this on. I got to give him credit on Fox. I was watching TikTok. So you guys, I'm doing angel card readings on TikTok. So you go to High Road to Humanity and I'll pull angel cards every day. But I'm just like checking out what's on TikTok, and it came up and I was just floored. And this article goes on. There's a lot of people who are really upset about this. He actually had the head of the Satanic Temple on Fox that made this actually sound normal, which kind of really blew my mind. Oh, there goes my computer. Yes. Hello, I'm here. And so I don't know. What do you want to say about this? I just had to bring it to you guys' attention. This is what's going on. Okay.
Right.
So anyway.
I mean, it makes me sad hearing that. I recognize that if you're talking about a high road to humanity, we also have to recognize there is lightness and there is darkness within the world. I think that people are trying to find connection. I mean, it makes me very sad that this is the way that they're finding connection. There's a part of me that's curious about what are they teaching within it. And so I think we're all seeking community, but this just feels like this is not the direction to take it. So
yeah, it just feels wrong, doesn't it? I mean, it goes on. I mean, there's more information. It kind of blows my mind. It just said, let me see what it says here. You guys are just going to probably trip out on this. The founder and executive director of the American Heritage Girls, a Christian alternative to Girl Scouts, told Fox News Digital in an email, at a time when youth are experiencing a mental health pandemic, it is outrageous that a school district would allow a club based on the master of confusion. Boy, that says a lot, doesn't it?
It does. Does. I got to tell you, there are times where I sometimes struggle throughout the day, and one of the things that I say to myself is, not today, Satan, not today. So I'm um uh,
Well, let's say it together. Not today, Satan.
not today, Satan. I want to go into that satanic group and say, not today, Satan, not today.
Yeah, but the scary part, is what they're teaching our kids. Now, we're going to start off with, and it's amazing. I pulled that up a little while ago, but I circled this earlier to talk about teenagers' path of grief. Interesting that I would circle that to start out with today. You talk about handling grief with yoga. But one of the biggest things, and I noticed this in the notes that I have from you, is that teenagers compare themselves to others. They need help, but wanting to be independent, which is true. They have a fear of looking vulnerable and stupid. They're trying to understand their sexuality, and they're not knowing how to deal with challenging emotions and anxieties. So talk about this a little
Oh
bit,
my
Paul.
gosh. I mean, I think as teenagers, we were all grieving. I think that especially in this time where everybody's comparing themselves on social media, I think teenagers are having a hard time authentically connecting with another person too, because they're so in their phone and stuff too.
They're all
So
looking down.
they're all looking down, and I mean, I certainly was someone as a teenager too that would drown out my feelings by overeating. I was a very heavy little kid. I didn't know how to deal with my sadness, and so a lot of the times, what I would do is I would isolate. I would bottle up anger inside of me, and as being bullied as a kid too, it would explode, and I would be afraid of the anger, but it was so suppressed inside. So I recognize that teenagers are absolutely struggling, and they don't know, they don't have the tools to help them to deal with all of the suppressed emotion inside of them too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have two daughters. It's so funny. Your kids grow up and then they tell you all the stuff they did that you didn't know they did. And you thought, oh, wow, how did they do all that stuff? But I think all kids do stuff when they're teenagers because they're trying to find themselves.
Totally.
They're trying to figure out who they are. And, I look back, I can only go with what I did as a parent. I look back and I feel like I did the best I could, but I feel like a lot of times people get so caught up, and this myself included, I can remember just being so caught up in work that the kids would call and I just didn't have time. It sounds terrible, but I was a single mom. And so when you're the breadwinner, you get caught up in work. And sometimes, maybe you think, oh, I should have spent more time, but it's hard. It's a balancing act. I want to
Oh
say
my
it's a
gosh.
balancing act to be able to
Absolutely.
do this. And what I see, and I'm no judgment, by the way, no judgment, because I know how hard it is to raise kids because I've done this, is that I see a lot of times the parents aren't taking enough time with the kids. And I was guilty of that myself, I can say.
Yeah, well, also, raising a couple of stepsons myself, there's a balancing act where they also want to detach in a way from the parent. They want to try to find their own identity as they start to begin to slowly move into adulthood, but they also need guidance and help. They need that sense of support. So it's a little bit of an inner conflict that they're experiencing and going through too. It's like I want my independence, don't tell me what to do. Yet I also need support. I need guidance here too.
Right. Well, what do you suggest? And I hate to put you on the spot here, but if a child has lost a loved one, a parent, I would say a parent would be really a difficult one. What is there a movement or something, or how do you work with them? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, first off, as I have worked with my nephews, so my sister who passed away from cancer, she I one of the ways that I start to do it is to just have a conversation with them about it. Like, hey, do you think of your mom very often? How are you doing with that? And just start to kind of like check in first off to see how they're experiencing and how they're going through it. Sometimes, and they might feel like it's a little bit like, take for instance, like, gosh, my sister who passed away, her kids were like 5 and 7, and so
Oh, wow.
they even felt like mommy left, mommy betrayed us.
Abandoned them. Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
almost like there's a resentment that they can perhaps even feel, but have a hard time talking about it or expressing it because it's like, why did she leave? And, I remember my mother saying, I'm sorry, my sister saying, she's like, I don't want to abandon my kids.
Right.
And yet, because of the disease, she had to go. So sometimes, first off, just having them check in to see what's going on with them. But there are times where I will, have anger release exercises and techniques to have them to move the pain through. There's a technique that I use in a class where we grab a pillow and we even just start to pound on the pillow, about the frustration or the anger and stuff too, because that's a way where they can connect and say, you know what, I've got this anger, and here's a healthy way for it to move through too. So that's a technique that sometimes I offer with them.
Yeah, I want to understand this, I guess, as you're talking, I'm thinking, so that anger gets stuck in the body. And so what you're
Does.
doing with the yoga, and that's a recognition that you've made that, well, so let's use this as the example. So they have the anger, the frustration, the abandonment, all of it, it's stuck in the body. And so you're saying, so with the movements that you teach them in class, then that energy is released.
That is correct, because
Okay.
they're not necessarily taught how to release it and to express it.
Right.
Perhaps as my sister, excuse me, she was taught, hey, good girls aren't supposed to be angry. For myself, I would see, basically being a model from my parents, how the anger would get suppressed and then all of a sudden it would explode out of nowhere. And whether it was my father who would have a sense of violence all of a sudden in the house, maybe like destroying or picking up a television and throwing it down to the ground, or for myself personally, where I would all of a sudden, like a boiling teapot, explode and then beat another kid up, we recognize that, oh my gosh, there can be a danger perhaps to that sense of anger. And so one of the things that I try to invite is to say, we don't want to hold on to it and suppress it because it
Right.
creates bitterness and
Disease.
dis-ease. And
Yeah.
so there's a way to learn to channel it too, because if it's not released too, what can happen is the anger can turn inward, and then we can be really hard and cruel on ourselves and really beat ourselves up. So it's really giving the space to say anger is a natural human emotion, but we need to move it through, and so even channel it like fuel for healing so we don't hold on to it.
I like this. This is a really good thing that you're doing. You guys, I want to talk a little bit about the book really quick. Well, there's all these movements. Okay. So this isn't a book that you just read. He gives you all these different positions. I should start doing some of this stuff. I love this. Extending the heart, Ho'oponopono he does, which I'm real big on, and you guys know that. And, all different. He does all different movements in here. It's really, really good. There was some that,
Can I
go
just
ahead.
say, Nancy, and
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
you know what the practice is about, it goes through, it's a little bit of a GPS to help us to understand and move through struggle. Perhaps if it's not about grief, it could be anger, it could be anxiety, it could be fear. It's really a way to move through it in a 5-step process. That the first step is about awareness, a way to get into the body and to move the body in a safe way and to deepen the breath, which then leads to the next step, which is about expression. And expression is using movement, breath, and sound to take whatever the struggle is and the pain and to channel it, to move it through in empowering ways. That leads us to the third step, which is about connection. And connection are flowing meditations to help to heal and open the heart and for us to flow with more grace, more forgiveness, more gratitude, which leads into the fourth step, which is about surrender. And surrender is a way to help to relax the body, to gently soften the body and stretch the body, that can guide us to a place of letting go, holding on to love, but letting go towards more peace. And then finally, the last step is evolution. How am I different now? How can I move forward after this? And this is using movement, breath, and sound to help us to tap into more perseverance and resilience, more play, and more purpose.
I love it. That was really well said, by the way. Where's the sound part come in?
Sound is using the vibration of the voice and the breath. The reasoning I'm doing this is that sometimes we get locked in our throat. We might not be able to articulate what the rage, the anger, the guilt is about.
It's
And
stuck
so
right here.
it's right in the throat area, fifth chakra,
Okay.
right in
Okay.
our place of
Well, that's
expression.
because when sometimes you can't speak, you're so upset. That's why it
Yes.
gets, because I relate to that. Okay, go ahead.
And so one of the things I'll do is sometimes I'll say, let the anxiety just sigh it out with the breath. It could be like, it could be a sense of like, let the exhaustion have a sound. Perhaps the sound could be let the pain have a sound. Like take for instance, going back to that place of pounding out that a kid can do or adult can do, it's almost like let the pain have a sound. Sometimes the sound could be a place of why. Why him? Why her? Why did this have to happen to me? Sometimes the sound could be a nurturing sound like the sound of voo to activate the parasympathetic nervous system to come into a place of rest and digest. Sound is sometimes that sound to help us to tap into our warrior strength could actually be a powerful to help to open the throat. So it's just a recognition that sometimes we're not going to always have the words. And what we're wanting is to take whatever is suppressed and to move it through. And sound can be a powerful way.
I love this. You figured out, I'm analyzing this. I'm sorry. Well, you figured out how to release aggression because you saw it you saw it released improperly in your mind when you were younger. So
Mhm.
then you figured out how to release it properly. And you've done a really good job because we're energy and you've realized that we're energy and you realize that the vocal cords, of course, our voice, the whole thing, the whole combination
That's right.
is genius. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I get this. I get what you've done. That's why
It's
you
taking
guys,
it's taking the concept of yoga, but also like expanding it in a
yeah,
practice that's not about physical flexibility, but a
right.
practice that's about emotional liberation.
Yes. Fantastic. I have to say, no one has done this because we're always, meditate, release. Yes, I've seen, a million movies where they're beating up the pillows, it's the same kind of thing. But this is getting a little bit further. This is going into where you're releasing that negative energy that's stuck in your body. And the reason I just think it's so important that people do this, and I'm going to start doing this, is because it can bring in dis-ease, that's
Absolutely.
why.
And here's the thing, whether it's perhaps it's grief. This is based on some of my work with grief yoga. And here's the thing, we're all struggling, and whether you describe it as grief or not,
Right.
it doesn't. This struggle and this pain, I get it. We don't want to go into it. We want to try to avoid it. Let's come from a place of action. But the thing is that it gets stored in the body. The body remembers it. And so I'm a big believer that the struggle or this grief, it doesn't need a lot of time, but it does need dedicated time. And so this is just creating an intentional practice that helps to say, hey, I'm challenged right now. My breath is very shallow. I'm holding this pain inside of me, whether it's physical or emotional,
Mm.
and healing needs movement. And so it's just creating little pockets of time to say, this is therapy for my mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, it's acknowledging it is what it is. It's acknowledging that because we all have it. We all have something that's going on that's kind of,
Me too.
gnawing at it from time to time. But I just think this is a really cool book and a way to release it. I'm gonna start doing this.
And on
What?
top of it, just so because I want to make sure that people who experience the book, they're like, I want to also understand how to like move with it too. That anybody who orders the book, if they go to healingthroughyoga.com, they get a free online classes to help support them in the book experience too.
Oh, wow. Okay, wonderful. I love that.
Healingthroughyoga.com.
Okay, I'll
It's
put that
very
in the
exciting.
notes on the YouTube so that people, that's so awesome that you're doing that. There was a couple things I wanted to talk about that were really important. And this is why you never know what to say when someone dies. And you say, what do you want to say to someone in grief? And You say you don't want to start any sentence with at least, such as at least they're not sick anymore, at least they died quickly. Anytime you say at least, you're minimizing the pain, you're judging, you're trying to get them to see a silver lining. Um, I like what you said. You say, what are some things to say when someone is in grief? And you say, I don't know what the right words are, but just know I'm here with you and I love you.
That's right. That's right. Really, people just, they're not
Yeah.
looking for a silver lining. They don't want to be fixed. It's interesting. It's normal for us to want to do something to
Yeah.
help them. And yet, the real healing can actually by just being with them. To say, you know what? I don't know what this might be like for you. I don't even have the right words, but I just want you to know I'm here for you. I will sit with you. I will sit by you within this. That can actually be the most healing thing that you can offer and do for someone.
I like that because you just never know what I'd never know what to say. And then you think, what should I say? And then you know what I mean? And I don't want to make light of it, but that's usually we're always having a difficult time.
Sometimes just mirroring back where they're at too, like instead
Hmm.
to just say, instead of saying maybe how are you, maybe say how are you today? And if they start to like share a little bit and you don't know what to say, maybe if you just mirror back what they said, they'll actually know that they're being heard and
Yeah.
witnessed, and that can be very healing.
I like that. I like that. You also say, how is the body and mind connected in grief? We've talked a little bit about that, but do you want to expand upon it a little more?
I think that sometimes when we experience a loss, I think that sometimes it can be hard to focus. There's a philosophy called grief brain that can exist where the mind can get cloudy. And I think that, the mind and body are connected. So what will happen with the body too is it's normal for us to constrict. That's why
Mhm.
we're holding on to so much. Our
Yeah.
breath becomes shallow. Perhaps if we've, let's say, experienced a fall or something traumatic has happened to our body, our mind can all of a sudden going, oh gosh, what's wrong now? What's wrong with my body? And perhaps instead of going into a place of what's wrong, to just inquire within, like, what happened? Oh, I've gone through a deep loss. I've gone through a deep trauma here. How can I be kind and compassionate to myself as I slowly begin to restore? There is that sense of that mind-body connection, and I think that it's so normal when we go through the loss for us to get stuck up in the mind. Perhaps we catastrophize and begin to worry about the future, or we begin to focus on the regrets of things that you didn't do in the past. So really bringing that sense of like the body is holding on to it too. How can I deepen my breath here? Where can I center myself where the struggle is in my body? And how can I start to find union within that?
That's really well said. It's funny, as you're talking, I'm thinking, when my father died, he was in so much pain and I got to see him go when he was young when I saw him and I was like so happy for him. So I was thinking about grieving. I miss him, but I don't really grieve. I'm happy that he's better. You know what I mean? But then there may be a part of me that I don't even recognize that's kind of grieving. It's in there that needs to be released, but I don't look at it. I guess people look at death different ways as you evolve a little and realize that, we just take a different form. Sometimes I look at it as like a celebration.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Wonderful. Wonderful. And
I
I
do.
there's no need to force grief on somebody. If you
I
really,
know.
I mean, the true intention of perhaps this is to help to remember them with more love than pain.
There
And
you
so
go.
if you're already in that space, then wonderful. Louise Hay was a friend of mine, and I remember for hers, what she wanted to do was she was like at the end, she was like, have a celebration of life for me.
Yeah.
And so we did that and we were present with it. And there was a part of us that were still sad. We missed
Right.
we missed our friend,
Yeah.
but we also celebrated her life too. So I think
Yeah.
if you can get to that point, then that's wonderful. And sometimes that might not always be an easy path to take because sometimes, we miss the person
Well,
or
yeah.
the loss or the grief or the trauma can be complicated. So, yeah, but what you're expressing with your father is the true goal of what we're trying to go for here is to celebrate their life, to remember with more love, and the qualities of who they are. Can we bring them forth in this life now so we can remember them and share who they were with others?
I
Is that
know.
possible?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, of course, we always think about the good things when people die. We never think about the bad things, but I always think about my dad. And, every day there's things that'll happen and it will remind me and make me smile
Right.
and think about him. And I know when he's around, I can feel it. I can pick it up. I just, know when he's around me. Same thing with my sister. My sister died of leukemia, and you probably have the same thing. When I hear a song, she sang and she played the piano, and we used to sing together. And so when I hear a song comes into my head that we used to sing, then I think of her, and I don't know. So that's
I
just,
have this thing where I do, this is in my practice, speaking of songs, it's called dance prayer. And it's
oh,
where you will play a song that will give you the space to say, you know what, I'm just going to be and remember my loved one here. And one of the
ah,
songs that I play with that for my sister, let's say, is I'll play Unforgettable by Nat King Cole. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to dedicate this next 3 to 4 minutes for her. And if that means moving in a dance prayer, or if that means just kind of like holding my heart, it's like saying, I'm dedicating this next couple of minutes for you and for the love that I still feel for you.
that's funny.
And
Mine,
if that moves me in a way that
yeah.
expresses it through the body, then perfect.
Then perfect. I was going to say mine is Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce.
Ah, I
And
love
every
that song.
time I hear that, I think of my sister. Well, of course, other songs, but that's the one that I'll play and think of her. And I start to cry because
Right.
it's like you dedicate. I love what you said because it's true. That's the one song that I'll play it just for her. No one
Right.
knows that but me. Now everybody else knows it, um, but I will actually start to cry because it makes me think about her, the words,
And
and
those tears are evidence of your love.
isn't that something? Isn't that
Mhm.
interesting? Well, listen, we've got a few more minutes here. What would you like to talk about before we get out of here today, Paul?
Oh my gosh,
I'm so
what
excited about your book. I'm so excited to do some of these exercises. I could release some stuff, so I'm I'm like,
I'm curious. Tell me about what you could release. Like, what would be the
oh,
thing that you would want to release?
okay, yeah. I need to release like any kind of anger left over from my divorce.
Yes.
Oh my
You want me
God.
to? Nah. Can I show you a little technique here?
Sure, yeah, you can
All
help me.
right. All right. It's going to be a little powerful, but it's kind of fun. Okay.
Okay, all right.
So here's the technique. It's called the wood chopper.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And I know, right? Hey, okay. So this is using movement, breath, and sound, but
Sorry.
I'm you can
I'm thinking,
laugh too. It's
well, no,
okay.
yeah, okay. I'll tell you after.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. So here, don't tell me he was like a lumberjack or something like
No,
that.
no, no, no,
Okay.
no, no, no. God, no.
Okay. So in the wood chopper, what you're doing is you're holding a divine axe, and the axe you're going to pretend like you're chopping a piece of wood, and that wood can represent rage, resentment, anger, whatever that particular thing is. Okay. And I'm going to demonstrate here.
I was
I'm
going to
moving my
move my
chair back.
microphone back.
I'm moving it back. Okay. So the way I do this, or the way, and you're welcome to witness
Well,
and
I'm
watch,
going
or
to,
you're welcome to
no,
do it
I'm
with
going to
me.
do it with you.
You're
All
like,
right.
I need to chop some wood.
Absolutely. Let's do this. All
Okay.
right.
So interlace your fingers together.
Okay.
Okay. Elbows straight, and then just kind of like lower them right down
Okay.
in front of you. And
Okay.
imagine there's a piece of wood that's kind of like right in front of you. And just really first anchor yourself, feel your sit bones in your chair, feel your feet grounded.
Okay.
And with this technique, with your fingers interlaced, you inhale and lift your hands up over your head. And then, as if you were chopping a piece of wood, just kind of, huh. Good. Use the
Huh.
sound, huh.
Okay.
Whatever the sound sounds like.
Huh.
Yes. 3 more.
Huh. I feel like a kung fu. Huh.
Huh. Good.
Okay.
Come back and I know it's kind of fun. Bring your fists right into your chest.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead and just begin to punch out in front of
Okay.
you.
All
Equal
right.
inhalation and exhalation through the mouth. Like, good. You're creating a little bit of a spark here to take whatever suppressed anger or rage. We're wanting to move it through the body, and so you're just kind of like punching out in front of you. And then bring both fists in, hold
Okay.
the fists with dynamic tension. Now
Okay.
let's say, what if you could release it here? Take a deep inhale and then push both hands out in front of you and release with the hands with a good. Again, inhale, release out. Good. Let's do two more here. One more. Good. And just shake it out a little bit through the hands. Shake it out, shake it
Thanks,
out.
Paul.
You know, all we did was just created a little bit of a space, even if you found it kind of silly or funny. You're deepening the breath. You're allowing the movement to kind of help you to release what's suppressed in the body. And in some ways, this is tapping you into your power here too. You know, because if we're going to channel the pain through, we need to empower ourselves here. And that's why part of the name of this book is to heal through yoga, transform loss into empowerment. So there's a way that we can channel that anger and that rage out in empowering ways.
Okay. You know, you also talk about why do I need to express it physically? And I just think working out, when I saw that and what we just did was wonderful. Thank you. But I
Because
think
you
working,
feel it physically. It's in the body.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets stuck and we don't even realize that. And then we get all bogged down and then we're like, what? But I think when you work out, and I want to say this too, when you're depressed or if you have stuff going on, it's really hard to work out. It's a
Right.
catch 22.
And we're
It's
so
like,
exhausted too.
yeah,
But yet, sometimes by doing this movement, it can actually, you know, it can invigorate you,
yeah.
and there can be a sense of release that happens there too. Sometimes people who are experiencing this work, they'll say, "I feel calmer afterwards."
Right.
Yeah. So
No, I do actually. I needed that. Thank you.
I did too. That's why I invited you to do it.
Okay. All right.
I was
See-
like, I got some wood I need to chop myself.
okay. All right. We both, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, listen, if people want to get in touch with you, Paul, you say you have these classes, talk to them, tell them how to get in touch, talk to them about the classes that you have that are associated with the book.
Yeah, for sure. So my location that you can find me at is griefyoga.com,
Okay.
and that's my website. There's lots of resources that are there to support you. You can contact me there. You can also connect with me on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook on Grief Yoga.
Okay.
Again, if you go to healingthroughyoga.com, anybody who pre-orders the book, they get an online companion course to help support them in their book experience with classes too. So those are really great things that can support you. And if you're like, I'm curious, I'd like to, you know, be able to share this as a guide or as a teacher too, there are trainings that I offer too that you can check out at griefyoga.com.
Gosh. How long have you been doing this, Paul?
um,
Why do you laugh? I
I don't
like
know. How long have I been doing this? I think, I don't know, laughter just sometimes comes out. I think I've been a student of yoga for about 20 years. I've been
Yeah.
a teacher of yoga for 10 years. And
Okay.
within the specific, like the last 8 or 9 years, I focused it specifically on this work because I felt like I needed it myself. And I think you teach what you need to
Right.
heal.
Right.
And I have learned that by doing this work and giving that space for others to do it, I think we heal as a tribe. And so it's been the most meaningful work that I have experienced and done because you're literally like meeting people when sometimes they're in their biggest struggle of their life and stuff. So it's been
Rewarding then. It's
it's
very
a meaningful
rewarding.
thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys, the book is called Healing Through Yoga, Transform Loss into Empowerment. And you guys, if you want a psychic reading, or I'm calling them angel readings now, you guys. Go to nancyyearout.com and I will do an angel reading for you.
And Nancy, did you know
Yes.
that
What?
for the people who are looking for those kind of like positive connections with their loved ones,
Yes.
sometimes their loved ones have a hard time connecting them because there's so much perhaps pain, anger, guilt, and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So the benefit with this work specifically is if you give yourself the space to release it, it lifts the vibration up for your loved ones to have a more meaningful and loving connection with you too.
No, that's true, because I do feel like certain people I'm able to, I know they're there, but that's because I guess I'm to that point where I don't know, you connect. I'm really big on connection. Now you get me off my subject
Oh
here,
my
but
gosh. It's it's a huge
I'm
part of my
sorry.
work.
Well, no, I understand it, but I'm really big on connection. You have to connect. And if you don't connect, how are you going to connect to your loved ones? And my big thing is like, we're just like, we're transmitters and they're on this frequency and we're on this frequency and we have to raise our vibration and they lower theirs as much as they can. And that's how we talk and communicate and connect. So yes. And when you release all that negative energy out of your body with healing through yoga, you can connect even better. But if you need some help, you can call me or go to my website, nancyyearout.com, and I'll help you connect. Also, you guys, I'm doing angel cards on TikTok. It's so much fun. The other thing I want to say on a really serious note here, I've been downloading messages from Archangel Gabriel, and I have downloaded probably 5 or 6 since around Christmas time. And so if you go on the website, there's a little button there. It says angel messages. You can click on that and you can read the messages that he's given me for humanity. Paul, I'm so glad you came today. It was a pleasure. You guys, you got to have to check out his book. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. We'll see you next time. Everybody take care and God bless.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.